If you've ever felt that absolute pit in your stomach after seeing those flashing red and blue lights in your rearview mirror in New York, trust me, you are not alone. Getting a traffic ticket in the Empire State brings on an immediate wave of dread, doesn't it? Because it isn't just about that upfront fine you have to pay. It's the absolute nightmare of sky-high insurance rates and the very real looming threat of a suspended license. Welcome to This Explainer. I'm your host, and today we're going to break down a powerful tool that can protect your driving privileges and your wallet, the New York Point Reduction Course. But before we dive into the solution, we really have to talk about why the stakes are suddenly so much higher. If you got a traffic ticket recently, you need to know that the rules of the road in New York have changed dramatically. Back in February 2026, the state rolled out a series of pretty severe updates to their point system. Basically, these changes have put everyday drivers at a significantly higher risk of losing their driving privileges and faster than ever before. So, the absolutely crucial thing to remember is this magic number, 11. Hitting exactly 11 points on your driving record now triggers a license suspension review. Now, it used to be a bit easier to avoid hitting that threshold, but with the new regulations, racking up 11 points is dangerously easy. But don't panic. We have a complete, step-by-step roadmap for solving this exact problem and shielding your record. Over the next few minutes, we're going to cover the New York point system, the benefits of the course, what it cannot fix, course details and enrollment, and finally, post-completion and final tips. Starting off with Section 1, the New York point system, the 2026 update. So this update right here brilliantly illustrates the biggest danger for New York drivers right now. Under the old rules, if you hit 11 points within an 18-month window, you face suspension. But the new 2026 rule actually expanded that look-back window to 24 months. What does that mean for you? It means points haunt your driving record and count against your suspension total for a significantly longer time. That is 2 full years of looking over your shoulder. And the penalties aren't just about your license. They hit your bank account really hard, too. Accumulating just 6 points in an 18-month window triggers a mandatory driver responsibility assessment fee, or DRA. This fee starts at a painful $300, which is payable over 3 years. And it doesn't stop there. It goes up by $75 for every single additional point you get over 6. And remember, this operates completely independently of your standard court fines. To put this into perspective, look at how fast you can actually hit these penalties. The 2026 rules drastically increased point values for common offenses. For instance, an alcohol or drug-related driving incident used to carry 0 points. Now, it's an automatic 11 points, triggering an immediate suspension review. Speeding in a work zone or passing a stopped school bus, that's 8 points from a single traffic stop. Even just holding your cell phone is a massive 5-point hit. Literally, you make 2 simple mistakes and your license could be gone. Let's move to Section 2, Benefits of the Course, the Lifeline. To grab this lifeline, you're going to want to look for a very specific acronym, PIRP. It stands for the Point and Insurance Reduction Program. If you end up taking it online, you'll see it called iPIRP. It's basically a DMV-approved crash prevention course. Private companies run it, but the state heavily regulates it. Officially, it's designed to teach highway safety, but let's be totally honest here. We are all here for the legal and financial benefits it provides. Let's dive right into those benefits, because they are massive. First off, completing this course subtracts up to 4 points from your active point total when the DMV actually calculates your suspension risk. It is a huge, huge buffer. Second, it legally mandates your auto insurance company to give you a 10% discount on the base rate of your liability, no-fault, and collision premiums for 3 full years. And here's a pro tip for you. You don't even need to have points on your record to take the course and secure that valuable 10% insurance discount. All right, Section 3, what it cannot fix, managing expectations. Okay, when it comes to expectations, understanding this difference is probably the most important concept in this entire explainer. There's a huge myth out there that taking this course acts as some sort of magic eraser, wiping convictions right off your driving history and making those awful fees disappear. That is absolutely false. The fact is, the course acts as a mathematical buffer. The violation, the conviction, and the points, they physically stay listed on your permanent driving record. The course simply tells the DMV to ignore up to 4 of those points when they're deciding whether or not to suspend your license. So let's run through some very specific legal limitations you absolutely must be aware of. First, taking the course does nothing, and I mean nothing, to reduce that $300 plus driver responsibility assessment fee. You still owe every single penny of that.
Second, it cannot stop mandatory suspensions. If you get a DWI or, say, 3 speeding tickets in 18 months, New York law mandates a revocation regardless of your point total. And finally, if you hold a commercial driver's license, you can get the insurance discount, but federal and state rules mean you unfortunately do not get the 4-point reduction benefit.
Because of those limitations we just talked about, I want to share a great piece of strategic pro advice drawn directly from traffic law experts. Managing the fallout with a defensive driving course is great, but fighting to keep the points off your record in the first place is always the better strategy. If you can get a ticket dismissed or reduced to a non-moving violation in court, you avoid the points entirely. Then you can just take the course purely for the awesome insurance discount. Moving on to Section 4, Course Details and Enrollment, the Blueprint. If you're following this blueprint, you'll see the commitment is actually quite reasonable. The state requires 320 minutes of instruction, which translates to about 5.5 hours. You can totally sit in a physical classroom if you want to, but the fully online option is incredibly popular because it's completely self-paced. You can log in, do a bit, log out, and spread it over several days. And the best part? There is no stressful final exam at the end. It's just straightforward chapter quizzes to make sure you're paying attention. Financially, you're looking at a very manageable $25 to $50, depending on which provider you choose. And the enrollment process is surprisingly simple. Step 1, just verify that the company is an official DMV-approved sponsor. You can easily find the full list right on the New York DMV website. Step 2, register online using your information exactly as it appears on your New York driver's license or permit. And Step 3, just complete the chapters at your own pace. Literally, as long as you have a valid New York license, you're eligible. Finally, Section 5, Post-Completion and Final Tips. Now, this post-completion phase is the part that usually gives people some anxiety, but you can totally relax. For most DMV-approved providers, all the bureaucratic heavy lifting is handled automatically behind the scenes. The very moment you finish, the sponsor electronically reports your successful completion directly to the New York State DMV. They also provide you with a certificate that you can just hand straight over to your insurance company. But definitely keep a close eye on your calendar because there are strict timelines governing when you can use this lifeline again. If you end up needing another 4-point reduction to save your license from new tickets, you are eligible to retake the course once every 18 months. On the financial side of things, your 10% auto insurance discount expires after 3 years. So you're eligible to retake the course every 36 months just to maintain that sweet financial protection. Before we wrap this up, we do need to deliver our standard professional disclaimer. The New York legal system and DMV regulations are complex and they're subject to change. The information we have covered today is accurate as of the major updates in early 2026. However, you should always verify the latest details with official state resources and consult a legal professional for personalized advice regarding your specific driving record. Which brings us to the end of our explainer. We've seen how the PIRP course provides an absolutely incredible safety net, potentially saving you from skyrocketing premiums and a suspended license. But remember, a safety net is exactly that. It's for emergencies. The ultimate solution, the one that requires 0 fees, 0 courses, and no court dates, is the one entirely in your control. So how will you adjust your driving habits today to avoid point accumulation tomorrow? Something to think about the next time you get behind the wheel. Thanks for tuning in and drive safe.